I used to do this Google search about once a month, and I'd be searching for things to do in mainstream media with juju. What? Yeah, juju. Voodoo. And I remember once posting a story that was on BBC Pidgin. And it was a warning by an African footballer that, please, I've lost lots of money, I've been scammed. Juju doesn't make you better at football. It will not guarantee results for you. And this was a guy this was mainstream, but this was like over in Cambodia. Not Cambodia, sorry. Cameroon. Juju doesn't warn the kids. Going to witch doctors and having spells cast on your opposition and taking power potions and wearing amulets and shit will not make you better at football. You're just being ripped off. And it's like, okay, why would anyone have to do this? Certain populations of the world now, they've been given the internet, have immediately turned it into like Western people have done. They've when they first got hold of it, people who had high minds about being fucking mediums and psychics and all, they found it, and obviously they use the benefit of the not getting laughed at, punched in the face, have buckets of water thrown over you, get called all kinds of names. That you would, if you started to play that shit in real life, they've benefited from that. And they've started to spread woo, right? It's happened amongst Western populations from about 2006 onwards. When you had you've now got the re-emergence of David Icke as a public figure, and people are actually, it probably goes further back. Probably goes back to about 2003. Spoke of it before, a spate of people, grifters online, most of them disappeared, most of them got exposed as being something totally fucked up, or else got caught wrong, and disappeared, and there's only a few of them left now. But then again, I've not been going round on patrol on the internet looking for people cracking on that they're fucking psychics and starting magic circle cults, where I used to. Now, I put it to everyone. I mean, this might seem like out of left field, but I'll put it to you. Axel, Rudakabana, right? We know that he had an Islamic Terror manual, so we've got this faction that are now becoming known as the Walk, right? Who were like trying to close the book on this, saying it's Islam, it's Islam, it's Islam, it's Islam. We need to do something about Islam. This goes to show we need to do something about it, so they're trying to politicise it heavily, and they're making a massive mistake, not looking at what is right in front of them. I'd say that it was more likely that he was pulling off some kind of voodoo fucking black magic ritual, having fallen in under the influence of that, because that is the most intense kind of magical thinking. That is the place in which he operated, how he conditioned himself to become the murderer that he ended up being. The kid has to live in a world of magic and fucking wonder to ideate like that, to come up with a plan like that, to think as big as he has. Creature that creates rising in his bedroom, age 15, is not some simplified, mindless fucking creation. You're underestimating what the guy, as everyone has done so far, you're underestimating what the guy's capable of, and that's why he's got away with it. That's why he did what he did. That's why, because he knew he was straight through. He was testing the water to try to get caught for a long time, wasn't he? Now we find out. And that's fed it. That's fed his ideation. It's like, they're not going to touch you. I heard word, because I get this say, well, I'm doing all the talk TV listen in the background. Jeremy Kyle mouthing off, and he's saying, this guy actually contacted the police and said, what do I do? What am I supposed to do if I want to kill people? And they've just fucking buried it. They've not even bothered to turn up. They've spoke to him on the phone. It's like, don't make the same mistake everyone else has made, and that's underestimating just how fucking dangerous someone can be. And then later on, when what he does astonishes you, and you're surprised that people are capable of doing things like that. I mean, we're talking about a literal bloodbath here. So, like, the guy's gone from ideating in his own head, in his own bedroom, and that's not about ideology, that's about conditioning yourself. Ideation is about conditioning yourself. It's like you're stuck waiting in an excited anticipation of a result forever. You do that to yourself. You condition yourself. You think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it. And this ideation, this is where it's bad. And it's a matter of, in most cases, when someone's suffering from something like, they call this like, this has got a name, it's called hypermania. You know what? Oh, the psychologists, the prison psychologists, oh my God, do they know all about this phenomenon. Now, he's like walking around in what could be said to be a schizophrenic swing that's sustaining itself for a long time. You know, schizos tend to have fantasies that they're dancers on Broadway or else they're the manager of Manchester United. Well, this guy's had that kind of turn, and it's fucking stayed. He's living in a hypermania, or he was. So it's like, if any of these so-called professionals, because I'm not saying they're incompetent, I'm saying they're avoidant, right? If he'd have got actually in front of someone with the proper training to spot a dickhead, to spot someone who was profoundly mentally ill, they would have immediately spotted him. In the same way as you can look at that mugshot and say, he seems a bit off. Well, they would see it too, wouldn't they? They've not done anything at all. They've failed completely. But if they would have been able to catch up with him and actually not stop giving him the benefit of the doubt based on it being written on the fucking piece of paper, Axel Ruda Cabana. See, it's that failure. It's a failure of imagination by the state, and a serious one. It's like, don't you know what people are capable of? I've known people in the same category of dangerous as him, and they got killed before they went out and murdered people. Seriously. I can think of 3 people who'd be as dangerous as that kid. And I mean, like, you've got someone who's, like, really out of control, fucked up, dangerous. I've known 3 and they're all dead. None of them saw past 21. The world, one way or another, found a way of dealing with them. And understood them completely, because the prisons were full of people like that. It's like this country used to know. So this guy in his ideations, I'm going to change the world. Now, if he's not of a side, if he's got his own ideology, this is a mistake you're making about ideologies. People seem to think you have to have an ideology. I'm a liberal. No, you need your moral compass. That's all you need. You don't need an ideology. You need to know the difference between right and wrong, and you need to be able to think for a minute before you go off mouthing off your spiel about Muslims. There are those who can't, and there are those who double down, and that doubling down that we always see from the left, we see it from the right at the moment. This is about Islam, it's about Islam, it's about Islam, it's about Islam. So they have to they want to politicise it. They want to make it the centrepiece of their narrative going forward, and that's a mistake. It's a disastrous mistake, because you've yourselves then stepped into a fucking world of imaginary wonder when you're supposed to be pragmatic. You're supposed to be pragmatic. You're supposed to be free of ideology. You're supposed to be able to look at what's going on, and I just see Muslim ideology, Muslim. No. It's far more likely that was left as something for you to find which ultimately the ricin was as well. It's a mind fuck. You're up against someone who's got control. Axel Rudy Cabana has had control over the ball for a very long time. People are playing out what he set in motion. These are the machinations of a very dangerous magician. He liked to set people on each other. He liked to set the whites on the Muslims because that would make the most trouble. And you swallowed it. You've actually bought it. So you've got, there is a 17-year-old mind in this somewhere. And that's where it lays, and it's his thinking he can anticipate what's going to happen as a repercussion of his action. It's there. You don't target a party where when everyone ever speaks about it, they mention the most famous person in the world, do you? If you don't directly want that association, because you're going to put a blood weight on this incident. You're going to put a blood weight on it. You're going to make it heavy. You're going to create a heavy association by bloodletting. It's like the fuckers on that side of it say voodoo, pagans. Bloodletting a form of practical magic. We've seen it. It works. It always works. It gets people. It tricks people. Suddenly, once the killer has done his deed, you start wanting to believe what he has to say, and it's like, no. That was the prelude. What comes next is what he had in mind. This is designed to set a course of action in motion, and it's like you're helping it. You're helping it by swallowing bait. You're helping it. You know. One day, I mean, I'm not planning on doing anything fucking heinous, but if the Prevent guys were to decide to study me and go back into my history and find out what I'd read and studied, they'd be targeting me as a potential terrorist, wouldn't they? I've read all the fun books. I've already read all the books with a ton of truth in them. History, people trying to tell us about the world that we were going to inherit. They'd sussed it out and they'd tried to tell us. It's like I've lent it out a couple of times and no one's ever got through it, and it's like, read that The Devils of Loudon by Aldous Huxley when he talks about it's about mass hysteria and brainwashing and sexual obsession being then perverted and used as a weapon to get rid of somebody who's inappropriate, who stands in the way politically, but he ain't no angel. He's a fucking Jesuit priest. He fucks everything that moves, man, woman or boy. He ain't no saint, but he ain't no fucking Satan. So like, read that about just as to when people are fucked up, traumatised, scandalised, don't get so much attention. When beaten into fucking submission, suddenly would tell all kinds of stories. And if it suits the state to believe these stories, because they're all pointing towards someone they want shut of, well, suddenly justice gets done, doesn't it? And you've got these fucking crackpot nuns who've been packed off to nunneries because they're not right in the head in the first place. That'd be one of the dark secrets of the fucking Catholic Church. He took me 4 times, Your Honour. It's bullshit. Trapped in a world of fucking make-believe. Just the whole place torn up in a frenzy because it better suited someone's political needs for that to be the case. It's like when people of a certain character, ruthless people, take on the question of the world, which is what Axel Rudiker has done. He's taken on the question of the world and found a loophole in it as a way to rapidly change it. You know, he's not the first person to come to this conclusion either. People come to that conclusion, they tend to... Violence is the answer here. Terrorism. We will force the people to change. With the use of fear and terror. It's the most effective weapon that humans have ever used. Back in the day, when a real notorious bad boy got his ass caught, they used to hang, draw and quarter him and send pieces of his fucking body to the four corners of the country on display for people to see. And that used to act like a kind of a scarecrow. Our society is 500 years past such barbarism, at least. At least. But it's not as it. But the thing is, it's not as if them tactics do not still work, are not still effective. There's more than one way of doing it. You have to understand that I am not condoning the actions of Axel Rudiker, but to some who are not stupid, they find that same radical answer that the philosophers of the Middle East, if you like, but before then, Russia, France, the same conclusions people in history have felt downtrodden and done too. And seen a problem. You reach for the same solutions as they reach for. You go back to the oldest form of fucking negotiation. You go back to bloodletting. You go back to sending a clear message in blood. And in the same way as it used to work 2,000 years ago for the fucking Romans, it works today. That's what you should take from this. It's like this guy has done a deed and sealed it in blood and then made himself famous because of it, infamous. So we're now seeking information for him. And anything said about him that would blacken his character would be seen as acceptable and almost taken as gospel truth because of the gravity of what we know he's capable of. The right questions to ask about this guy are, what else has he done? We know what he was capable of now. What else has he done? Those questions are being asked. What else has he done? That's the right thing. All kinds of people in that kid's life who've been touched by his fucking madness and violence and fucking terror, because this wasn't something that just started on the day. Might have something to say about him in the way that the fucking state has failed to deal with him. The state is to blame because the state has let him get away with so much as to where he thinks he's the fucking kid. He thinks he's the one, he thinks he's enabled, he can do it. God's somehow cleared the path for him. Because he should have been caught and put out of business half a dozen times at least, shouldn't he? And nowadays, there are people in the world as dangerous as that. Let's not pretend there isn't. Nowadays, they don't have anywhere to send them. But hundreds of fucking years ago, they'd have had somewhere to send them. It's like we don't have loony bins anymore. We have like fucking prisons. So it's a matter of, oh, we leave them out in the society. We leave them out in the society now, knowing that they're going to do harm. And then when they pop off, then we pick them up and put them in a secure hospital. It's the best way of doing it. There's one of the real scandals. The government knowingly letting dangerous maniacs, well capable of murder and massacre, walk the street until they do something. Our government have got wide and ranging powers when they've decided that the government can pretty much unperson you and take away all your rights if they find that you're fucking crazy, you know. They can. It's not that, and they've had the ability to do so for many years. But suddenly they don't have the ability to do that anymore. And it's like this has been part of our society, this, for as long as I've been in it, as to where if you're profoundly fucking nuts, you're profoundly dangerous, they put you in a home. You get banged up, even now. You think, eh. Now it's just, do as you will. Well, we just have to wait until he does something and then we can do something about it. And then they'll lock him up. I mean, he's gone to prison and then been immediately fucking dispatched to a secure hospital, which he'll never leave. Because they've weighed him up from prison and they've said it the way I said it. You're like, you don't want him in your prison, he'll fuck up your prison. And the guy who does the guy who's got the channel about prisons, he picked up on things I've talked about in the past as well. It's because, you know, it's not great minds think alike. It's like there's a truth to this. There's people who are close to it. I'm close to the truth. Peter Hitchens is always close to the truth, and so's David Starkey. They all get it. Seriously, there's a commonality to the truth of it. I can point to it. I can actually point to people and say, this guy's an excellent source. This guy's true. This guy's actually on the level who's talking it, who's trying to teach something. There's quite a few of them. They're all small YouTubers, though. They're not big YouTubers. But there was a chap who does videos about prisons, a very straight-talking northern fellow who used to be a prison warden, who says there'll be a kind of perverse dark tourism about that kid. It's like the establishment types will be wanting to visit him in prison just to go and have a fucking look at him, to almost go and have a perv. And it's like, to certain circles of society, the likes of him are curiosities, and to put them in a prison is to put them in a fucking zoo. And it's like there will be celebrities the worldwide, government officials queuing up to go and visit him in prison. Queuing up to go and visit him in prison. And all of the psychologists out in the world who want to make the bonds and become famous psychologists, because there ain't so many of them, they'll be in on it as well, so they can see about if they can write a book or get the details they need for a fucking Netflix series or something like that. They'll all be queuing up to go as well. I'm a PhD in criminology. I'd like to come and have a word with your man. Well, if he accepts it, yeah. And then suddenly you'll get it as to where this guy become like Charlie Manson famous. Because it'll be a matter of people will be, so fucking desperate to hear what he's got to say. You don't think fucking psycho like that might have memorised himself some like Bruce Lee talk, and then suddenly he'd be like, you're playing into it. They're playing into it. They'll play into it. They'll spread it. They'll leak it. There'll be people fucking selling tickets at that fucking secure hospital to let people in. To go and have a go, to go and have a gloat. And go and look at the fucking creature that we don't understand, but we deep down we kind of relate to what he's done. He's notorious, and it's like there'd be those just attracted to it like a magnet. And I'm like, wow, that's the thing, isn't it? That's to come. People will be writing speculative bullshit fiction about this guy for years. What did he really do? What did he really mean to do? And I'm saying, well, I can tell you from here, this kid has done his studying and he's worked out what works. And it's a funny old thing because, Africa, this kid's from Rwanda. We'll find out the methodology of the shit that passes for civil war or military action in Africa. And you're not a million miles away from his kind of antics, you know. They seem to understand the old ways of war, how you leave someone's fucking head on a pike as a warning for everyone else. That you can easily provoke a civilized power with atrocity. It's just the thing to reach for. It turns their stomach. They lose their stomach for a fight. This is psychological warfare done right. How many guys went to Vietnam who ended up fucked up having seen their friends be deliberately mutilated when they found the bodies? They'd been deliberately mutilated as a fuck you. It's the same game. This is terror. This is the purest form of terrorism. But to say it's ideological terrorism takes away just what an act of terror it was. It attempts to close a lid on it as to where the thing to be now concerned about is the government's speed in which they've attempted to silence it and cover it up. There's things, there's knowledge available from what's gone on. There's knowledge available to you that isn't normally available to anyone outside the inner sort of circles of the Labour Party. What do you know about what's going on with this mental health crisis? And the answer is, well, we all get a bit depressed, don't we? We're all crazy now. They're completely unequipped. They've got no idea what people who are out of sight and out of mind are capable of. They're doing the same, they make the same woke mistake of projecting. Just thinking of someone like Axel Cabana as a beloved pet that's sort of gone off the rails. Oh, I must have been provoked by the people that we don't like. Yeah? He was put up to it by our enemies. So they're doing exactly the same thing in their way as the right are doing when they're saying, let's lay this at Islam's door. They're doing exactly the same thing, and it's like there's something about like minds here. Seriously. James Lindsay is on to what I've been trying to convey for a long time and trying to actually push, is to say these guys on the right, are only partially honest. They're not telling you everything. I tell people everything, on my channel. I'm not saying I'm in competition. I'm like, no, they should have years ago upped the game. But they've been perverted by the seeking the click, seeking the subscriber, and they're trying to play to a mass audience. So you play to a mass audience, you end up talking in fucking generalities, don't you? Your attempt at brevity becomes propaganda. You get it where you get people out there who aren't so far fucking different either, out in the world, would see the output of the people like the fucking Lotus Eaters and stuff like that, and say, these guys are probably working for Israel. What? Mossad, yeah, these are Israeli. They're paid for by the Israelis, like Tommy Robinson is. Why? Everything's always about Islam. And really, the only people... You don't benefit from that. People in Rochdale don't benefit from them blaming everything in Islam, because we can be like, there's all kinds of cunts. There's all kinds of scum. There's all kinds of cults. There's all kinds of movements. And you're just pointing at one of them. And that's giving all the other ones a pass, isn't it? So you're not seeing wood for trees. You're missing the point entirely, because you'd like to get advertising revenue and see your side with the power. So Andrew Gold, who spoke to Roger Moore the other week, he's put a video out. He's like, the real reasons why it's been covered up. And he makes it all about Islam as well. And also doubles down at the beginning. So I am a Jew. He gives it the old, I'm a Jew, Talks about anti-Semitism. And then the government are trying to cover up or deny that this guy was just an Islamist terrorist. So when you go Islamist terrorist, it's just put a label on him and then just close the fucking book and forget about it. And then we remember Islamist terrorist, and then they use this atrocity as the political centerpiece in all future campaigns. It's like, fuck you. It's like I'm against you. No. I'm not getting you. Fucking hell. I'm not getting you to use children that have been, in essence, like sacrificed to fucking Baal, right? By some fucking juju crackpot who's been living a hypermania and enabled to then push it and push it and push it till he takes to murdering. It's like, no. I'm not going to let you use his sacrifice to Baal or the like as a political weapon moving forward. To lay that at the door of Islam. Just to make it so simple, to close the book on it and say, right, all we need to know is he was influenced by Islam. Islam bad. It's like what those doing that are doing now is more dangerous than anything I've seen in the last few years that have come out with the voices of the supposedly. We're the reasonable ones. We're the conservative ones. We're the ones who are about family. We're the one you play the trad game and then you suddenly flip to, we just lay this at the door of a group of people. Taking even all the credit away. For like, for fucked up things to do. If we count drink driving as a 1, what you did was a 10. 10. Yeah, 10. If we call like street robbery a 4, what you did was a 10. If we call car crime a 2, that was a 10. Hey, well done. What you did was a 10. You've that's such a barbaric act that it's on the Richter scale. So this has caused a psychological or psychic nuclear weapon to go off. And just for a while, it's like you get to control the shape of the charge, man. If you've left your trail behind you, sort of obscure enough, know that they're going to come looking for information about you. Just leave the information they need to find lying around, will you? And if they don't charge you as a terrorist, they're going to protect your identity. Because that's the mistake that's been made. Should have been arrested as a terrorist because it's an act of absolute terror. If that's not terror, what is? But they have a different definition of terror. And terror is only terror if you've done it in the name of a political organisation. Which is, our terror laws are bullshit. They're a fucking cop-out. They're a cop-out because of our definitions of terrorism. They've better change the definition of terrorism so never to fucking arrest any of their own friends for plotting and scheming and committing fucking treason against this country. They muddied the water. Been an act of terror, then they've been allowed to just lock him up for 14 days without charge, put all his details out into the world, because that's what they always do with terrorists. We always find the name of the guy the same fucking day as it happens, but in his case, they oh no, this is a criminal justice matter. It's like, this time it is. These guys, right, take something that should be a criminal justice matter, right, and make it political, right? And then they take something that's political like this is political because the effect it has on so many people. It's immediately political, right? They've taken this and they've made it into a criminal justice issue. They've done it exactly the wrong way around. They've like, you fuck that up every day. You make this criminal justice problem political. That's why you've got grooming gangs and the like. It's a criminal justice problem. They're not being arrested. No one's investigating. It's a criminal justice problem, but they've made that political and about race, but it's a criminal justice problem. And then they take an atrocity like this and make this a criminal justice problem. It's like, you couldn't fucking make it up how badly they fucked this up. You couldn't make it up. It's like you have the terror police all over that. Everybody knows you have the terror police all over that. Because then the way that you can take the case on is different. You no longer have to protect the witness with everything you can do, which is what's been going on. Our establishment has locked arms to protect Axel and his rights. It's like he's a terrorist. It's like normally it's like you put a terrorist in Guantanamo Bay, and a lot of people are still there. And have a guess how dangerous they are. Think about how dangerous they are as people. Like, oh, this guy's so fucking messed up, fucked up, and bitter now because we've locked him up for 20 years. That he would, as soon as we were ever to release him, he would set about murdering as a fuck you to us. We ain't ever letting this guy out. He'd take to murdering to make us look bad. That's how fucking messed up he is. Like, for fuck's sake, laying it at the door of Islam, it's like, if you think on as to where if this guy's really thought about the repercussions of his actions and he's ideated, appears to have been mentally very well prepared for what he was going to do. Didn't at any stage of the game fucking falter, waver, or lose his bottle. That's an enemy you can't deal with, isn't it? And he knew that. That's why he did it. He's showing you a loophole in the way that the world works. The big flaw in our society, he's just walked in and shown it you. Laid bare how weak this country is, right? Weak. And that's what he did deliberately. That's what this act is. And it's not ideological. It's an act of personal rebellion. And he's pretty much left it to the imagination what you want to think it was about. To fuck with you. It's like everything about the guy is sus. Everything about the guy has got a weight to it because of the killing. Because of the bloodbath. It's like, if you are people who can fall under who can fall under the influence of this, as to where you stop thinking clearly, and it becomes about you're just proving to others who might play the same game that you're susceptible to it. You can be shocked into states of anger and rage and sympathy. You can be shocked into sympathy and rage. Just goes to show that you are susceptible to all of the fucking messages and machinations that come from authority. It's like you just don't realise it. You could be said to be, and they're right in what they say, you're playing the Israeli propaganda game of blaming everything. Well, you know, they're going to say that, aren't they? And it looks that way. Do not take accountability or agency away from Axel Rudikabara. Just because you have an ideology that ticks boxes, don't assume everybody else has the same. As long as you do, you're going to completely get run. As long as you make those mistakes, those who aren't subject to your morality are going to run rings around you forever, and they'll and be capable of things that you'll find astonishing that you couldn't find in yourselves, and then suddenly you don't know everything. You need to work on your ability to deal with fucking surprises, man.